one time or the other have been shortchanged through these contributions. However, it is pertinent to quickly add here that one of my good friends and a colleague is a die-hard believer in this scheme. In fact, he tells me the enormous impact this scheme has added to his life. From starting a business to addressing some basic needs. I wonder how they achieve this.
Indeed, Cliff, I wonder as well. And if you go to the net, different blogs, you'll find different comments, reactions to the several, warnings that have come against some of these, financial schemes. But again, you want to know why people are lured, of course, into investing in such fraudulent schemes. Well, fraudulent now because we're yet to ascertain, the genuineness of such schemes.
Well, we even had the Central Bank of Nigeria, a top regulator in this, setting up and warning people to really be care of what they do or not identify with these people. So why do Nigerians still invest in these Ponzi schemes in spite of the warnings by the Central Bank of Nigeria and other regulatory agencies? Could it be related to recession? What drives people to take such a risk with their hard-earned savings? And how can these schemes be differentiated from genuine businesses? Questions and more questions, Claire, I will tell you.
Indeed, Cliff, questions and more questions. And I will also ask, how come people do not seem to learn from history? How many of such schemes are duly registered by the Corporate Affairs Commission and have acquired licenses to operate in Nigeria? It's Good Morning Nigeria here, of course, from Africa's largest TV network, the NTA. It's broadcast from here in Abuja. I am Claire Delabo Abdurrazak. Welcome to Friday's edition.
And I am Cliff Ayoze, joining Claire to welcome you to this edition of the program. And the last for the week, coming to you live from NTA, the largest television network in Africa. And of course, we'll be here to have other guests that will join in. We'll also have on the program the usual segments of newspaper review, business, sports, arts and entertainment, not forgetting, of course, foreign news. But let's join Laure Bala-Hassan in our news studio for the morning news. Good morning, Laure. You're looking beautiful this morning.
Thank you, Cliff. Good morning and welcome to the news. The federal government has reiterated its commitment to applying decisive measures towards ending extreme poverty in the country as a deliberate attempt to keep faith with the nation's poor. President Buhari stated this at a parley with participants of the Senior Executive Course 38 of the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. He said it is impossible for his administration as the people's government to ignore the poor who made great sacrifices for the change agenda.
It is impossible for this administration to ignore the poor who made great sacrifice to bring us to government. Ours, more than any other government in the history of Nigeria, is a people's government. We therefore must and we will keep faith with the people.
Meanwhile, the presidency has described the security and economic cooperation between Nigeria and the Republic of Benin as an exemplary model that can be adopted by other countries for peace and sustainable development. Receiving the outgoing Beninois ambassador to Nigeria, Mr. Muftau Laleye, President Muhammadu Buhari said Nigeria and the Republic of Benin have tremendously benefited from the existing ties. President Muhammadu Buhari, in another development, has promised to treat all Nigerians equitably as well as restore and maintain the nation's peace enterprise as a demonstration of faith to the oath taken on his assumption of office. The president stated this while granting audience to the executive members of the Christian Association of Nigeria from the 19 northern states and the FCT.
And that you should know that at this point we have been encouraging our youth to go into farming, and they need to be protected. Once they're there in the bush for farm, their lives are not safe. And again, when they come into the city, there's no employment. So that is why farmers must be protected so that our young men will go back there.
Vice President Yemi Oshibajo has emphasized the need for leaders to lead by example and hold in esteem the values of good governance. He said this while declaring open an international symposium on Sokoto Caliphate as part of activities marking Sultan Muhammad Sa'ad Abubakar's 10th anniversary of ascension to the throne.
And those who govern must be founded on these ageless and immutable values. These values include integrity, trustworthiness, hard work, and the fear of God. And every great civilization has thrived when it follows these principles. And every great civilization has declined and failed when they ignored or breached these values.
And to the National Assembly, the Senate has described as distracting the speculation that the National Assembly is delaying consideration of the 2017-2019 medium-term expenditure framework.
This document that they call MTEF is empty. When they do things or they bring nothing and we ask for something so that we will do it properly, they run to the newspaper to start blaming the National Assembly.
This issue of blame game is really totally unnecessary.
The House of Representatives has urged the federal government to intensify the fight against the scourge of malaria in Nigeria by declaring state of emergency on the disease. The members also resolved to investigate the non-submission of the report of the Presidential Committee on the Procurement of Arms.
In my constituency, Shiroro Rafi Mian Federal Constituency, 6,000 cases of malaria is being reported every week.
In the meantime, the federal government has described public-private partnership as a viable financing vehicle for infrastructure development towards fast-tracking the nation's economic growth. The special advisor to the President on Economic Matters, Dr. Adeyemi Dikpeolu, was speaking on behalf of the Vice President at a PPP knowledge-sharing forum organized by the Federal Ministry of Finance in collaboration with the Africa Development Bank.
It was felt that a partnership with the private sector, which has quite a lot of resources, would help also to bring the amount and the scale and volume of resources you need to upgrade the infrastructure in the country.
We've been talking about PPP in water supply delivery, water supply for the past 20 years or so, and we think now is the time, and that's why we have been trying to accelerate the water bill.
Large demand in infrastructure in the area of road, in the area of power, in most all the sectors, but we don't have the resources to meet all of it.
PPPs oblige a government to think long-term, prepare long-term, and then hold the private sector to its contractual commitments.
The National Judicial Council has decided that judicial officers standing trial for alleged corruption-related offences will not be allowed to perform judicial functions at the same time. It also decided that judicial officers being investigated for alleged high-profile criminal offences will not perform judicial functions until their cases are concluded. These are part of the decisions taken by the National Judicial Council at its 79th meeting, where it commenced the implementation of the National Judicial Policy. The Council also sets up a Transparency and Anti-Corruption Policy Implementation Committee headed by a retired Justice of the Supreme Court and the former Chairman, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, Justice Emmanuel Ayola. Other members are the Chief Judge of Borno State and the President, Nigerian Bar Association. Meanwhile, a new secretary has been appointed for the council. He is the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court, Ahmed Gambo Sali. And to security matters, the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, has set up a special panel to investigate all cases of alleged sexual abuses, exploitation, harassments, gender-based violence, and professional misconduct against internally displaced persons in some northern states. In a statement by the Public Relations Officer, Force Headquarters, Don Awuna, the Inspector General is calling on Human Rights Watch officials to avail the investigation team more facts that will assist the police conduct the inquiry into the alleged 43 cases mentioned in the report. The statement also directs commissioners of police in locations where the IDP camps are situated to beef up security and ensure adequate safety of all displaced people, and for police officers deployed to the camps to strictly adhere to the rules of engagement. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has assured France and Japan of Nigeria's readiness for collaboration that will develop its film industry. The minister stated this at the second edition of the Animated Film Festival of the Japanese and French embassies in Abuja.
If only we are able to develop the capacity, we have a lot of stories to tell, using animated, technology.
And that's the news for now. Good Morning Nigeria continues with Claire and Kingsley shortly after the break. Good morning.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Germs, oil and dirt cause blemishes and uneven skin tone. You need Dettol Even Tone. It removes 99.9% of germs and is formulated to remove excess oil and dirt, helping to reduce blemishes.
Dettol Mom. She only trusts Dettol Antiseptic Liquid to kill 100 illness-causing germs, and it's recommended for cuts and scrapes. Worry less and love more. Don't just be any mom, be a Dettol mom. Dettol, be 100% sure.
Afrima! My name is Femi Anikula Kukuti. I'm going to be at the Afrima village on the 4th of November 2016. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you're there.
This is unstoppable. Over 30 African stars and our Afrima nominees will be performing live. Diamond Platinum, Kiss Daniel, Dewale Ayuba, Eddie Kenzo, VVIP, Niniola, Ramide, Mbula, Small Doctor, H-Name, and other 30 African stars. On Friday, November 4th, 2016, come and enjoy original African underground sound at the Afrima Music Village at the Waterfront Bar Beach, Victoria Island, Lagos, in Nigeria from 5 p.m. Entry fee is simply Afrima t-shirt. Available on ariatickets.com or at the venue. Afrima is an initiative of the African Union Commission and is brought to you by Lagos State Government with support from One Campaign, Access Bank, PRM Africa, and the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture. Africa will be unstoppable. Afrima, for hope, for celebration.
NTA, official broadcast station.
All right, thank you for joining us. If you've just tuned in, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria, Friday's edition on Africa's largest TV network, NTA. I'm sure you're wondering why I'm all smiles. You don't want to know the discussion going on, behind the cameras. But that's a subject matter for another day. For now, it's business news, and the World Bank is supporting about 11,000 tomato farmers in Kano. And we also have experts calling for harmonization of Nigeria's monetary and fiscal policies as a crucial step in actualization of the nation's diversification agenda. We have Kolo Mohammed with details on business news.
Investment in infrastructure will yield economic growth. Nigeria's current infrastructure stock stands at between 20 to 25%, about 75% short of international benchmark. The private sector has however been identified as a credible driver of the nation's economy. Nigeria's transport infrastructure is being opened up for active private sector participation. This was brought to the fore at the African Development Bank Knowledge Sharing Forum in Abuja.
Now trying to concession some
of the infrastructure we have, like the narrow gauge lines we have that span through the whole country. The one moving from Port Harcourt down to Maiduguri, the one moving from Lagos down to Kano, to Auranamoda, and so on and so forth, is being put on concession. When you come to the airports, the same thing. There are issues now. We are looking into concessioning of the various terminals and the various airports projects. The World Bank has supported about 11,000 tomato farmers in Kano State. The support was rendered in a bid to promote profitable marketing of tomato and to encourage farmers of perishable farm produce, all geared towards the National Economic Regeneration Agenda. Plans by the federal government to drive economic growth through non-oil sectors can be attained if the monetary and fiscal policy actions of the current administration are harmonized. The Nigerian British Chamber of Commerce NBCC's latest economic review and policy statement noted that the two instruments must be harnessed to bring about the desired result to restructure the economy, boost liquidity, and increase market confidence. With Business News, I am Kolo Muhammad.
All right, Kolo Mohammed, of course, debuting for us on Business News. Kolo, thank you. Next is newspaper review. Stay with us.
Well, this is a time to look at what is on the headlines of most Nigerian newspapers, and we'll have our regular reviewer, Bayo Atoyobi. It's my pleasure.
Good morning, Cliff. I admire your outfit today.
Oh, just like I admire you. And Clay is looking the same way.
Now you've got the cat out of the bag, Bayo.
All right, let's kickstart this review by going to Daily Trust. On the front page of Daily Trust, we have judicial matter dominating. Supreme Court officials charged with 2.2 billion naira fraud. NJC suspends 7 judges accused of graft. And we also have the cases, the 9-point charge against the 3 Supreme Court judges outlined there in a very exciting graphic form. Charge 1, 2, 3, 4, and what have you? One of the diversion of the sum of 2.2 billion naira belonging to the Supreme Court of Nigeria into personal bank accounts domiciled at United Bank for Africa. The account number is stated there. Count 2, criminal breach of trust. Count 3, receiving 10 million naira gratification from Walidev Limited, a private contractor to the Supreme Court of Nigeria. Count 4, obtaining 6 million naira gratification. It goes on to the 9th charge there. While still on Daily Trust, under the masthead we have, I almost absconded after taking over, Buhari says. And of course, FIRS ends 2.7 trillion naira in 9 months. Fowler. And of course, we have other promotional reports at the bottom of the Daily Trust. Senate stays action on Buhari's MTF proposal. And Oshobajo, Sultan has broken parochial barriers. Well, that's with details of that report on page 4. And 1,000 bandits repent in Zamfara.
All right, Cliff, that story on, attributed to the president, of course, you get that paper to read and understand,
yes,
in the context, that was said.
Sometimes, it could be some editor's
Exactly,
job,
exactly. All right, let me take the Nation now. And the Nation also is leading with the story on the judges. And it says, NJC to judges under DSS and EFCC probe, step down. NJC to judges under DSS and EFCC probe, step down. And comes with the rider, the registrar, 2 others charged with alleged diversion of 2.2 billion naira. That's the lead story. And of course, the picture story, that was part of the picture from the event that happened yesterday. You find the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, and of course the Sokoto State Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwa, and the Sultan Mohammed Saad at the venue of the International Symposium marking 10-year anniversary of the appointment of the Sultan in Sokoto. And just a bit above the masthead, quite a number of trending stories there. But let me begin with the empty treasury almost scared me out. Again, it says Buhari. You now see the different captions, you know, of course, coming in now. The details of that story is on page 47. I have no role in $32 million escrow account, says Adoke, page 5. Governors behind justices' allegations against Amechi. That's on page 40. And plots on to tarnish my image, says EFCC boss Mago. Now, Soyinka to cut U.S. green card if Trump wins. Of course, that story has been trailing since yesterday.
Of course, I still have it on the Punch. It says, I will rip my green card apart if Trump wins.
Yes, but what impact will that have anyway?
No, but even at that, it shows this personality, international personality. Look at other these things. You know, on Leadership Friday, say why I almost resigned, PMB. You know, that's on leadership there. We also have other stories threading along that line, talking about 700 billion bailout fund. Reps threaten CBN governor, finance minister on the front page of leadership. Still on the judges, corrupt judges must step down. NJC. We have that report on the leadership. And Sultan steps up criticism of nation's top leaders. Says a governor can't pay salary, yet builds airport. How do you reconcile that?
Well, let's talk about the comment by Mr. President. He was briefing course 38 of National Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies. And he said the man who wears the shoes knows where it pinches. It was after assuming office and he saw the quantum of the problems that were there that he felt so intimidated that he has been cast in various headlines. Some say he wanted to abscond, some say he wanted to resign, but be that as it may.
There's another caption of it. It's
yes.
on Vanguard, said, I felt like fleeing.
Well, there you are. They are all trying to say the same thing, try to capture the atmosphere in which the president found himself. But be that as it may, let's go to the reports about the judiciary. After a two-day emergency meeting, the National Judicial Council has now decided that judicial officers shall not stand trial for alleged corruption-related offenses and still be performing their judicial functions. Consequently, they have directed that, and they will ensure that judicial officers do not perform judicial functions until the cases about them are concluded. In another development, the Director of Information of the NJC, GOE, has said that the NJC has appointed a 3-man panel headed by former Supreme Court Judge, retired Justice E.O. Ayola, and they are to work on a transparency and anti-corruption implementation committee. This is in consonance with the national judicial policy. Also related to that, the story that Cliff read, you were talking about 9-count charge. Actually, the 3 that were charged are the Chief Registrar of the Supreme Court, the Director of Finance, and the Chief Accountant. They are charged at the Federal High Court, FCT, for allegedly diverting 2.2 billion naira belonging to Supreme Court. Details of that was what you read. But the other judicial story is the case of 5 suspects who had been standing trial for allegedly murdering one Bridget Agbahime over alleged blasphemy at Kofa Wambai, Kano. At the Chief Magistrate Court, the Attorney General of Kano State evaluated the facts in accordance with Section 130 and 150 of the Criminal Code and advised that there is no case for them to answer. And so they have been set free. Talking about the Sultan, the commemoration of a decade of the ascendance of the Sultan on the throne was marked with a symposium with international participants yesterday. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo said the Sultan has led a string of values that has broken the parochial barriers in our nation. He traced the values, some of which are traced to Usman bin Fodio, and he quoted that Usman bin Fodio are saying that a man with tendency to steal surreptitiously is in the same class as a monkey. Also, the Sultan, in his remark, also said, a thief is a thief, irrespective of whether he's a Christian, a Muslim, PDP, APC, or ABGA. A criminal is a criminal, whether he is a herdsman or a farmer, irrespective of his ethnic group. The Sultan summed up by saying that the diversions, the sentiments, the imputations of religion, region, tribe can be summed up in one word. He says it is all politics. However, he calls on the federal government to immediately convene a national security summit with all stakeholders so as to address security challenges. Don't forget, the Sultan is a brigadier general. I'm not too sure now whether he's retired or still serving, because there was indication at the ceremony yesterday that he's still serving. But talking about the issue you raised there, he admonished governors and said that they have misplaced priorities. He said, how I build an airport of 30 billion, why you cannot pay salaries? So those are the challenges, and it was an occasion that was attended by traditional rulers from across the country. And the traditional rulers, he spoke on behalf of the traditional rulers and said they have the confidence of Mr. President to go on with the efforts to lift the nation back to its glory.
No, we're all very, very sure of that, because we know that the president means well for this great country. But people have continued to raise questions about some people that possibly are working with him, or those manning ministries, departments, and agencies, as the case may be. But we move on now. The Sultan story is well taken, and I hope we'll try to take action in that direction. Maybe the governors will take a cue from there. And on the leadership, we still have another story, trailing. Northern Christian Association of Nigeria means PMB over abduction of Christian girls, with details on page 10 of Leadership Friday. And we have other stories. But we see the picture story there. Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, Middle, Minister of Youth and Sports, Mr. Solomon Dalong, leader of Northern Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, Reverend Yakubu Pam, and CAN officials after their meeting with President at the State House in Abuja yesterday. We also have another story at the bottom of leadership. 10 senators making news in NAS. What does that mean? Details of it on page 7.
That should be an editorial, sort of.
Well, no, it's not.
It is an editorial.
It is somebody's identification of 10 prominent senators by his own estimation.
Okay, you see, that's the thing, and he's drawing your attention that oil prices rise as attack on pipeline increases.
Well, our prices rise. Is that what you read? Well, that's good news for us. All right. Thank you.
And on the Punch, sorry,
okay.
we have on the Punch this morning, we have IG orders probe of alleged sexual abuse in IDP's camp. Because, this story has been trailing, and it's been on international media and local media on the abuse there that people were found culpable. We also have agric loans. Kaduna asks EFCC to prosecute 725 defaulters, with details on page 15 of the Punch this morning. Still, Sultan Kape's governors craze for building airports. Obani Koro undertakes to return 480 million naira Samese passports to EFCC, with details on page 9. That's on top of the masthead of the Punch this morning. I felt like, well, we've taken that before. 7 ways to keep information safe on the internet.
All right, Cliff, let me quickly take some other stories from the Vanguard before we move on to Bio. The Vanguard's front page leads with the story, MTEF, $29.96 billion loan. Senate picks holes in FG's proposals. Now, it comes with quite a number of riders there. Urges executive to end blame game and provide framework. Accuses Buhari's aides of incompetence. We are optimistic NAS will approve loan, President aides, and Southeast reps give condition for support. Now, how Udoma snubbed us, Ndume. I didn't snub Senate. That's coming again from Udoma. Quite a number of stories. Again, INEC fixes dates for rerun polls in Rivers, Lagos FCT. It's also trending here. And just to take you to some very disturbing stories on the inside page, pages 6 and 7, you find a former banker to spend 195 years in jail for stealing 21 million naira from a micro finance bank. There's also the story about it, death from Kogi cassava flour mills. Of course, it said that the death toll has risen to 9. That story broke yesterday, Bayo. I'm not sure you heard about it?
Yes, I heard about that. Apparently, it was after a meal of a cassava meal. Apparently, some cassava do have what is called cyanide. And if in the preparation it is not soaked properly to get rid of cyanide is very deadly. In fact, in scientific terms, it is said that the first person to taste cyanide was trying to write the nature of his state. He wrote only the first word, so before he dropped dead, because nobody could was sure. Yes, very, very fatal. But talking about the National Assembly, the House of Reps panel investigating the 700 billion bailout fund has asked for the Minister of Finance, Governor of Central Bank, and in fact, Director, Debt Manager Office to resign. Why? Because they failed to appear in person before them.
Is that enough? Well, I think time is catching up with us, Bayo. We're getting sick now, and we know we'll continue from what the papers will be talking about tomorrow on this same, on Monday, because today is Friday.
Friday, yes.
So, Bayo Atoyebi, we thank you so much for always being there to give insight into some of the stories. This is still Good Morning Nigeria. When we come back, we'll be looking at the Wonder Banks, resurgence of the Wonder Banks. We'll now take a break in a moment.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try new Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. New Nurofen Express works at the source of pain, fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
Call of change, stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go to so let the change begin from within. Look at you, Ogerola. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
This is Good Morning Nigeria, and it's time to go to our talking point today because it is common for people nowadays to look for easy ways to get money. And the introduction of the Wonder Banks seems to be welcomed by many who are desirous of a quick win. The banks usually offer juicy return on investment of up to 30 or even 50% depending on the scheme. This attracts prospective investors to quickly jump into the schemes to increase their savings. Timothy Yusuf gives us this background to kickstart our conversation.
One financial boom that has really engaged the minds of people the world over, Nigeria inclusive, is Wonder Bank. So many of them operate in different forms under names like Fast Money, Easy Wealth, and a host of others. The most popular here in Nigeria is, however, known as Mavrodi Mondial Money Box, popularly called MMM. Some Nigerians who have participated and are still participating in MMM have described it as an answer to their prayers, as its financial return in a short period is better than what any conventional bank or other financial institutions can offer. However, some are courteous because they still remembered in 2007 in the ancient city of Ibadan when similar schemes pioneered by Pennywise and Wealth Solutions promised the same returns but later collapsed, just as MMM is presently said to have collapsed in Zimbabwe and some other countries of the world. Those who know say the new rave MMM is actually not different from other Ponzi schemes that rely on an accelerating number of new investors to pay off the existing investors. The scheme, which has been banned in China, has found its way to South Africa, Zimbabwe, and recently Nigeria, where it has attracted investors who put money into it and are said to be receiving 30% profit at the end of the month. As Nigerians rushing now to invest in the MMM scheme, putting their hard-earned money in those schemes otherwise known as Wonder Banks, the question on the lips of many is what happens in the event that the scheme collapses as the ones before them. The question is largely premised on the fact that MMM is strictly an online transaction, thus making it more dangerous because if and when it collapses, as it has been reported in China, Zimbabwe, South Africa and Kenya, who will the investors hold for refunds? This is even more precarious as the national financial agencies that take care of such mishaps are distancing themselves from the Wonder Banks. It is in this direction that the Central Bank of Nigeria cautioned people against such investments in Wonder Banks, describing them as illegal. The EFCC has also arrested the managing director of a Wonder Bank in Enugu who is alleged to have defrauded his unsuspecting customers to the tune of 4 billion naira. The Financial Crimes Commission is also reported to have arraigned another person in Kaduna for similar offense. The scheme, which was founded in Russia in 1989 by Sergei Mavrodi, his brother Vyacheslav Mavrodi, and Olga Melnikova, recorded rapid growth but came crashing down in 1994 as it was closed over tax evasion. Sergei Mavrodi was found guilty in 2007 in a Russian court for defrauding 10,000 investors and sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. The re-emergence of these Wonder Banks in Nigeria is causing uneasy calm amongst financial experts and regulators. Will Nigerians heed these warnings and stay clear of Wonder Banks? What should the authorities do to protect the people? These are some of the questions guests on Good Morning Nigeria will answer shortly.
All right, Timothy Yusuf there providing us background, of course, to set off our discussion. And just to add that, of course, there are so many of those Wonder Banks around, MMM, Ponzi schemes, and, you know, so many of them we'll be talking about. And you can also join our conversation. Our Twitter handle, you know, just to remind you, is still, of course, at NTA GMN. You can join us, follow the conversation. Let me quickly introduce our guest for this morning's discussion. We have right here in Abuja, Dr. Uche Uwaleke. He's Associate Professor of Finance, Department of Banking and Finance, Nasarawa State University, KEFI. Thank you very much, Doc, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Right.
And of course, we also have the spokesperson of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. He is the head of media and publicity. We're talking of no other person other than Mr. Wilson Wajera. It's my pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
And Chris Ishiguzo is Vice President of Nigerian Union of Journalists, Southeast, and he joins us from our Enugu studio. Mr. Ishiguzo, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Also joining us via Skype is Alex Odikpo, Gada MMM Nigeria. It's a pleasure to have you join us. He's joining us via Skype all the way from the United Kingdom. Well, I understand he's in Lokoja. We still have somebody that will join us from the United Kingdom. It's our pleasure to have you join us, Alex Odikpo.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's a pleasure joining you.
All right, Cliff, you're rushing off to US, where we know where your mind is. All right, but from Lokoja, let's move on to the United Kingdom, where we have Mr. Emmanuel Aholo, founder and CEO of Worldwide Link Limited. He's also founder of Christian Business Network, which is a motivational speaker. He is a motivational speaker and a blogger. Mr. Aholo, thank you very much for being able to join us at this hour.
It's our pleasure. It's great to hear you guys talk about this, and I'm glad to contribute to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Well, we're kickstarting this, and we are looking at when we talk about wonder banks and Ponzi schemes, what really do we mean by that? Because a whole lot is happening. Who are these wonder banks or Ponzi schemes different? How is it different from the normal commercial banks? Let's take it from your own perspective, Associate Prof.
Yeah, thank you very much. Maybe I should even use the definition that we have in South Africa, where a Ponzi scheme is defined as any scheme or any investment, in quotes, that promises, a return that is more than 20%, 20% higher than the repo rate. That is the repurchase rate. The repo rate is the benchmark interest rate in South Africa, and it's about 7%. So if you have a scheme that is promising 20% or more of this repo rate, it qualifies as a Ponzi scheme. So generally, wonder banks, Ponzi schemes, pyramid schemes, or whatever names you call them, are schemes that promise outrageous returns on investments. I don't really see them as investments because for something to qualify as an investment, a real asset must be created. But these are not investments. So when people put their monies in these wonder banks, and the wonder banks promise to give them 30% return or more, of course, you could say those are Ponzi schemes. And of course, how does a pyramid scheme operate? The early birds, or those that go in early, are paid their returns and their principal from monies gotten from the later entrants. So whenever that chain breaks down, whenever it becomes increasingly difficult to get new entrants, of course you find the chain breaking down. Let me share an experience I had yesterday with a group of students, a group of postgraduate students. I was delivering a lecture on the capital market, and I talked about the benefits of investing in the capital market, for long-term investments, especially in stocks, in shares. And I asked how many of them, have investments in the capital markets, and a few of them raised their hands. And one of them said, why would he bother to invest in the capital market when, there were far better, options? And I asked, what is this option? And he quickly mentioned these wonder banks. In particular, he mentioned MMM. And I asked them, about 20 of them in the class, I said, how many of you are involved in this MMM? Two of them said they were already doing it. One said that he invested 100,000, and at the end of the month got 230,000. So his colleague now, because he was paid, decided to invest 200,000. So that one is waiting to be paid. And another person said, once that person gets paid, that she would also join. So you can see the motivation, and it's something that is spreading, very, very fast. And they talk about the returns without telling them about the risks that are involved in these things. And you also notice that the environment appears to be ripe for it. In countries where these things, have taking root, these are countries that had problems at one time or the other. Look at the case of Russia, for example, where this MMM originated. In 1989, between 89 and 1991, up to 94, Russia had these problems, this crisis. So it was easy for the Mavrodi to start this MMM. In Zimbabwe, in South Africa, the story is the same. So in Nigeria, we're facing a recession, downturn in economic activities. So it is not surprising that these wonder banks, have come up again.
Let's hold your thought, briefly, Dr. Waleke, at the moment. But let's again get the views of Mr. Emmanuel Aholo in the UK. Mr. Aholo, I understand you've done quite a lot of work, surrounding these investment schemes. But when we hear of, let's take for example the MMM that's trending now. One is reminded of things like this that happened, in the past, in the late 80s and of course, and the 70s, late 70s and early 80s. In character and in mode of operation, can you give us a clear distinction? What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's almost the same system they've been playing on right from when Posey started in 1920. When Charles Posey came out with that scheme in America. So what happens is that they try to get people investing and promising them huge returns in terms of yield. And most time people are carried away with this return on investments. But the real fact is that there is no way they're getting that money. The money is coming from the return is actually coming from other people paying into the same scheme. So this carries on for a couple of time or years or until something else happens when people stop investing and they're unable to pay out to other people coming into the scheme. So this is the same trend that it has always been all over, all the time when the deposit scheme started or the MMM scheme they are doing now in Nigeria. Well, I was in Nigeria some few days ago and I was trying to educate people that I was with why they shouldn't invest in this kind of scheme, because you cannot, as the gentleman earlier said, there's no assets, there's no services being provided. So it's a common sense to know when something looks so good to be real. It's not really, it is really bad. But it's due to, as I said to people, it's due to greed. Greed is some of this that leads to all this kind of people participating or lack of financial education, which I believe through your program will begin to educate people on why they shouldn't go into such scheme, because it comes back really bad in the long run, and people lose out their finances or their investments. So this scheme has always been, but people need to be educated about it, and especially in what is happening in Nigeria today, a lot of financial problem. So people are looking for a quick way to get rich. And there's no quick way to get rich. You must be able to invest and really get your hand dirty to make money. Any other way you're making money is an ill-gotten wealth. And it's, as the Bible says, as a Christian, it will diminish. So the earlier we begin to understand these things, the better for every one of us as a society.
Emma, let's still be with you. We want to get a picture of what obtains in the United Kingdom, because you've been there. Do we have such schemes, such Ponzi schemes there? What is the reaction of government there? Just try to give us a brief picture of what obtains there before we get to somebody in Enugu.
Yeah, some years back we had, I think if I should say about 10 years back, we had something like that by Citibank. They came into the UK and they were trying to sell certain financial products. But the Financial Services Authority here got on them as quick as possible. They were fined about 1.something billion pounds for that illegal trade. And since then, it's highly regulated. Before you can go into financial services in the United Kingdom, you must go through the Financial Conduct Authority, which is really, really very strict in terms of giving licenses. So I don't see no reason why MMM should operate such a scheme without regulation. I believe the Central Bank of Nigeria should have a system of regulating some of this kind of scheme whereby they cannot get to the public. So that's how it is in the United Kingdom. You must go through the Financial Conduct Authority before you can get the license. So in doing that, they're able to check out some of this kind of scheme, and the society is prevented from losing money.
Thank you very much. It will be of interest to note that we're still expecting guests from the Central Bank of Nigeria, because they've issued a number of releases, discouraging people from doing that, and we had their word that they'll be part of this conversation. Let's hope before we exhaust this conversation that they will be able to be here. But let's get to Enugu, where we have Chris Usiguzo, Vice President of Abuja Southeast. And we know the place of the media in trying to keep tab of such developments, given the releases by the regulatory authorities. What is your view on the Ponzi schemes and the wonder banks, as the case may be? Because we had the Omana then, we had the Port Harcourt Axis, we had a whole lot that happened, microfinance banks that went down all of a sudden with the NDIC clamping down or trying to track some of them and putting some of them out of business. What is the picture you get yourself?
Well, once again, thank you very much for having me this morning. We have recently seen the experiences of people that are one way or the other linked to this Wonder Bank problem, the Ponzi scheme. Just about 2-3 weeks ago, we were at the EFCC, where they told us clearly that an operator of a Wonder Bank in Enugu here had been arrested. And they were able to go through about 22 bank accounts belonging, or rather linked to this particular operator. And from 4 of them out of the 22, they were able to track 4 billion, supposedly belonging to depositors. Like one of your guests said this morning, it's something that is driven by greed. And a lot of people that are involved in this Wonder Bank stuff, they take advantage of the economic situation in any country they operate to rip off unsuspecting members of the public. Like he observed, we are in a recession, and a lot of people are really complaining. The hardship is biting so hard, and it is always when you see this kind of challenge that you will be faced with an opportunity that seemingly appear rosy, but beneath the facade is a terrible risk. Today, if you go to EFCC office in Enugu, even as I speak, you see tens of people whose deposits they can no longer access because this Wonder Bank in question, as we speak, is no longer working. And it took time before the depositors really came to terms with the fact that the establishment was gone. When they kept going and their usual monthly returns, they were not getting them. It now dawned on them that there was problem with the company. And thank God that EFCC was able to come into the whole issue. Otherwise, more and more people probably would have been fleeced. And that's a terrible situation. Like I told a couple of friends who actually thought it necessary to approach us to ask, what is it about these Wonder Banks? I told them that you don't just go and throw your money where there is no insurance. I'm not aware that Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation is monitoring the activities of these Wonder Banks. And once you don't have insurance for your deposits, I wonder why one will they go and throw in his money. In Enugu, you have a lot of people that have thrown in their life savings. Some sold their landed property and they put the money in Wonder Banks. And today, your guess is as good as mine. It's a terrible situation. Families have been wrecked. A lot of people have been wrecked. And while we talk about this particular Wonder Bank, you still see a number of people here putting their money in MMM. It's simply something that is waiting to explode someday. I believe that with the program that you are doing this morning, a lot of these people would have their eyes very wide open to see that all that glitters most times can never be gold.
Mr. Isiguzo, let me still remain with you for clarity purposes. I'd just like to ask you this question again. Do you think that what we are seeing now with both the Ponzi schemes, with the Wonder Banks, with the MMM, is it a return of the Wonder Banks that defrauded millions and millions of Nigerians in the past?
From all indication, from what we're seeing, here now in Enugu and other places you've mentioned, it's obvious that the scheme has returned bearing, different names. Well, in Enugu, you have they give you such an interesting name. Come, let's do business with you. Come, let's partner with you, and all different names coming up. So it has returned because they have seen that the situation in the country at the moment don't seem so interestingly good. And the people are looking for several ways that they can really make a living. And when you see this kind of thing come up and they say you put money and at the end of the month, you get about 10%, 20%, 30% in most cases, while your capital, your main deposit is still there. You see that people want to, rush into such a business that paints a picture of wealth. Just go and grab it, is there. But know that there is no free money. There is no free lunch. Even in Freetown, Sierra Leone, you cannot enjoy free lunch. That is to say, when they present you with this opportunity that looks so interesting, see it as an innocent flower that has a serpent beneath it.
Okay, Chris Isiguzo, thank you so much for your perspective. We'll be coming back to you later. Let's now go to EFCC. We wanted to get the guardian of MMM, but we understand that the signal has gone off where he is in Lokoja. We'll try to establish contact with him once again. But Wilson, you are the head of media and publicity of Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and I know that you've been dealing with such issues. Would you want to give us insight into the number of cases relating to illegal financial transactions as it concerns these wonder banks or Ponzi schemes, as the case may be?
Thank you. I've listened to...
Or are they committing a crime?
I'll come to that. I think the scheme is rather pervasive now, and we have so many cases, right from the Nospeco era, where people pump in a lot of money there, hoping that their investment will be sunk into oil and gas industry and they will make huge returns. And when the bubble burst, a lot of them lost money. And that was the first major case that EFCC handled in this Wonder Bank phenomenon. And we discovered at that time that even if you liquidated all the investment of Nospeco, it was not even enough to take care of 1/4 of those who invested in that scheme. And that gave an indication that, look, people must be mindful of easy route to wealth. Because at the end of the day, when the bubble bursts, you will lose everything that you have invested. In Nospeco, hundreds, thousands of people invested. And when the investigation started, what we were able to recover from identifiable assets of that company could not accommodate 1/4 of those who invested money, because
so where did they take the money to?
You will not be able to trace them. They have they took some of them out of the country. They don't even have landed properties that you could also say, let's sell these ones and then recover what they have collected from people. And Nigeria seems not to learn from some of these things. People are so anxious to get a shortcut to wealth, and there's no shortcut to wealth. If somebody comes to you and say, come and invest 200,000 and in 1 month you get 30,000 return, for instance, you interrogate, what is he going to invest this money into in this environment, in this economy that will yield that kind of returns for you? But people don't ask those questions. They are all anxious to make money. And when it starts, those who get into it in the first instance are very secretive about this. They believe that they have hit a gold mine and they don't want to share the information with others. It is when people now find out, oh boy, you're looking well, what is the secret? And then I say, okay, like this MMM, they say, okay, there's something I'm doing. And then they recruit others to join. And believe you me, it's a matter of time. What happened to Nuspeco will also happen in this instance. We have so many cases that we are doing. At a point, the EFCC, SEC, and CBN got together and we formed a committee. And the essence of that committee was to launch a major sensitization effort to educate people on the dangers of these Ponzi schemes. And for several years now, they've been doing adverts in the media to let people know the dangers of getting involved in this. And for a while, it was like the momentum came down. But all of a sudden now, maybe because of the recession that we're having now, people have gone back to
Yeah, just because you mentioned the recession, Mr. Ujari, but just to add again what my colleague Cliff said earlier on, we had actually made contact with one Ibrahim Umar Hassan, that's the Deputy Director, Consumers Protection Department of the Central Bank of Nigeria. We're hoping that he will join us before this program runs out. So in the meantime, we'll of course concentrate with the guests we have here. But Mr. Ujere, you are the spokesperson of EFCC. You've said that you've had quite a number of petitions, from some of those people who allegedly were defrauded by these wonder banks. What is the nature of those petitions, and what can you tell us about the character of those who patronize them? Because earlier on, Dr. Waleke had said that, look, the economy, he made reference to the economy of countries where these banks are thriving.
Claire, you add one other leg because you left the aspect of the likely people if they committed crime or not by operating such this thing without license from CBN on NDIC, as the case may be.
Let me deal with the issue of the criminal aspect of it. They've committed crime. One, most of them don't have license to render financial services. The law says that if you want to collect deposit from members of the public, you should go to the CBN and register. If you also want to run investment, SEC is there for you to approach them for registration. What we have found over the years is that most of the owners of this scheme never registered with those statutory bodies. That in itself is a crime. If you look on the other side, the modus operandi of these organizations also have a fraudulent inclination. There is ab initio, there is a plan to obtain by false pretense, because they know that the scheme that they have instituted cannot be sustained over time. So there is an element of fraud, an element of violation of statutory regulation. So criminal inclination and criminal, a crime has been committed, definitely. It can be investigated and prosecution can also be instituted against them. That is one. The second leg of your question, I don't think I still have that
about
now.
time of recession.
Yes.
You said?
Yes, because Dr. Waleke made reference to, the status of, countries where such, yes. So I'm saying the petitions that you have received, what, give us an idea of the nature of these petitions and the character, probably of those that, have patronized the wonder banks.
Interestingly, it cuts across all stratas of society. You will be surprised the kind of people that get involved in this scheme. They are well-educated people, and you also have uneducated people within them. It cuts across all segments of society. Like I said, people want to make money the quick way. And those who have 50,000 invest. Some who have 1 million wants to multiply that 1 million in 2 or 3 months. And they also get involved in this scheme. But in terms of reporting, what we have discovered is that those who actually report are the initial people that fall victim. If they are not able to pay, those who can't get their money come and report. In the process of reporting, once one reports, and let me go to the Enugu incident, because that is the most recent case that we're investigating. When the initial set of people reported and EFCC commenced investigation, others who got wind of the fact that the EFCC had stepped into the matter were not coming up to say, okay, I have also been a victim of this scheme. At the end of the day, we have thousands of people who had also fallen victim of that Let's Partner With You scheme in Enugu, which is still under investigation. So in terms of victims, they cut across all strata of society, both the elite and the downtrodden.
So it's not necessarily the economy that is forcing people to do that. Dr. Uche?
Yes, the economy too has to do with it. as I said, if you look at the history of Ponzi schemes, just as somebody mentioned, it's traceable to Charles Ponzi, and Charles Ponzi operated between 1919 and 1920. Remember, that was shortly after the First World War. And then the conditions at that time were so hard that he seized the opportunity, cashed in on the opportunity to get people in Italy. Charles Ponzi was an Italian, but was residing in the US.
In the US.
Yes. So he had what he called international coupons that people could buy in Italy and then sell in the US at a higher price. Okay, so, and that was just for 19 to 1920, and then it collapsed. Again in 2008, during the financial crisis, we also had the case of Bernard Madoff. Bernard Madoff too was able to operate that because he was the former chairman of NASDAQ. And that thrived, again, given the situation at the time. It collapsed because of the global financial crisis, 2007-2008. If you also take the case of China, this MMM, flourished in China at a time. As we speak, it has been banned in China. In Zimbabwe,
South Africa as well, I understand.
Yes, in South Africa in 2015. It was launched in South Africa in 2015. And today, again, it's collapsing because the National Consumer Commission in South Africa identified MMM as a Ponzi scheme. And as a result of that, many bank accounts that were linked to the MMM, were frozen. I mean, in South Africa. Okay. So you can see Zimbabwe, it's collapsed. South Africa, it has collapsed. Just within 1 year, it collapsed in South Africa. The wind now is moving to Nigeria.
So what does that say of Nigeria? When this things, is it just enough to give her releases?
You see, as I said, China took the step of banning MMM. And in South Africa, they are freezing, accounts. Here in Nigeria, you might say given our population, because one report I read said about 500,000 Nigerians have already keyed into it. So the earlier the authorities did something about it, the better. So that our case doesn't become that of Albania. There is a well-documented, literature on these pyramid schemes by the IMF. IMF has a working paper they called, it was a study they did in 1999 on the rise and fall of pyramid schemes in Albania. Albania at the time had a population of 3.5 million people, and nearly 2 million Albanians were involved in one form of Wonder Bank or the other. Okay. At that time, there were 17 Wonder Banks, operating successfully, and just within 1 year, they all, collapsed.
All right, Associate Prof, we thank you there. We'll now go to Lagos. We've established contact with our guest there, and that's the way of recognizing Dr. Ezekiel Adele, chartered accountant and former banker. It's our pleasure to have you join us.
Thank you very much indeed.
With that, through the traffic in Lagos to get here, we're looking at the resurgence of Wonder Banks or Ponzi schemes, as the case may be. Some describe it as a community of people helping each other. That's one definition somebody gave. What is your take on the resurgence of these Wonder Banks?
The issue of community of people helping each other, would that necessarily be licensed by the financial authority, is an illegal outfit? Because every institution that sets out to collect money or investment from individuals must be licensed by the central bank, and whatever they are doing, and they are promising 30% return on a monthly basis, has no fundamental basis. What kind of business will people do to be able to give this kind of return? And I believe that the population should be warned to be wary of losing their scarce resources at such a time in Nigeria when we are in recession. People should actually ensure that, yes, they patronize legally authorized institutions for their investments.
All right, we'd like to thank you, Dr. Adeleye, for your, of course, opening remarks there, and of course, I appreciate your presence on our program. Let's get again to the UK, where Mr. Emmanuel Aholo is. Mr. Aholo, I'd like to ask you, listen to something I got off from one of the blogs. You know, I think apparently it belonged to, or it came from an operator or a customer. It says, finally, and I'm quoting now, the beloved MMM in Nigeria has crashed. Now, he goes on, this is the wish of those people who refuse to register but envy you when you smile to the bank, week in, week out, unquote. And one of the reasons these people give is that, look, they ask us to bring our money without collaterals. Does it give us any idea about what has happened to confidence in our banking system and all that?
Well, we say it because when I went through the website of the MMM and I could see what they have done, so that if they are charged to court, they could still get away with it, because they've said there that the 30% they promise is not guaranteed, and people should read about they should read their terms and conditions. So I believe most people joining the MMM scheme have not taken time to read through some of their small letters. So it's very important that people are educated first in terms of what they are going into, if you are going into all that. And I believe what is happening in Nigeria in relation to your question is to the fact that our banking sector in Nigeria at the moment is going through a lot in terms of recent investigation going on with what the banks have been doing in the past. So people are looking for shortcuts where to invest their money. You could also remember that with the financial services back in Nigeria some few years ago in terms of share investments and all that, they also had issues. And some of these things have given rise to some of the scheme we're having now in Nigeria, because people don't know where to invest. People are looking for shortcuts, how to get maximum yield from their investments. So the earlier the banks begin to do things in the right way, that is stipulated by the Central Bank of Nigeria, then the confidence will start to come back. People can invest their money back in the right financial institutions in Nigeria. So what the main problem is that we are having right now is that people are not being educated on which areas, where to invest in, or having confidence in the banking sector so that they could do their investment right there. And the returns on investment must be very attractive to investors, so that people can invest in the banks, and the banks need the investors to be able to run and give out loans and all that and function properly. So they build most of Nigerians back into investing right through the bank, the regulated banks, and with that, MMM have no place. That's the only way we can fight back with some of this scheme that is going on right now in Nigeria. They've gone around the world. They've come, as the gentleman said, they were in Zimbabwe, they were in South Africa, they were in Russia, they were in China. So they look for where they have, any country that is going through economic problems, they take advantage of such situations, and they come in there because people are now looking at way out. Get rich quick syndrome plays a major role in this. So the earlier the banks begin to take their place in our society, the better it is for the people.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel Lagalo, there for your perspective. Well, now Nigerians are joining in this very conversation, Claire, and we need to, tag on with them to have their views and contribution to this very conversation. And the first is coming from Vitus Merichuku, or something like that. He says, MMM is a scam. Nigerians, please be careful.
All right, Cliff, this is from Ibrahim Tudu, and he tweets, wonder banks are a result of faulty financial intelligence. How do they go under the radar of the CBN and law enforcement so easily? Very good question.
Yeah. And another one is coming, says, MMM, just one crazy way to increase your funds. One crazy way to increase your funds. Funny thing though, it works. but people are very much aware that it will crash.
Well, and the next tweet comes from Prince Chooks, and he, of course, reflects the view of some of the customers of these wonder banks, and it tweets, MMM is a community of people helping each other.
And of course, I will still have Ibrahim Tudu tweeting, MMM has been in existence in Nigeria. They are in schools, markets, and even banking halls. This is surprising. CBN's response is too little and too late.
All right, another tweet there. MMM, it's not a wonder bank, but a community of people helping each other by providing help and getting help. All right.
And Sunny Michael Omakoji tweets, Nigerians are advised to use their spare money for this business. Else, if it eventually crashes, many people will go insane.
All right, I would like to thank all of you for your tweets. Please keep them coming at NTA GMN. The Twitter handle is right there on your screen. We'll still continue with our conversation in a short while. But again, following from the tweets we have heard.
The financial intelligence thing, I think.
Exactly. I'm just going to direct my question to Mr. Abuja. You heard the tweet. How is it that these people, just go under the radar of the CBN and law enforcement agency? That's a tweet coming from Ibrahim Tudu.
I wouldn't say that they go under the radar. What we observe is that when they start initially, they masked their operation. Some of them start by registering as ordinary business enterprises, and you wouldn't know the nature of businesses they are conducting until you have a large number of people already involved in the scheme. For instance, this Let's Partner With You scheme started like an investment business for people. A case we also investigated in Warri, one Pastor Glory Abrifera, he was eventually prosecuted and jailed 10 years. He established what he called mustard seed investment. And people started making contribution. He opened an account for them and they were contributing and he was paying interest. If such a business is operating, there will be no suspicion because you don't know the nature of work he's doing. And those who get involved initially will not tell you the nature of that business until there's a problem. So it's only when problem occurs, that is when the law enforcement community gets to know that there's something happening in that sector. So it's not primarily a problem of lack of intelligence on the part of law enforcement. It is partly because of the secretive nature of the operation of these people at the initial stage, and the fact that those who get involved early enough there's this conspiracy of silence about it until there's a problem.
All right,
okay,
conspiracy of silence.
Let's get to Enugu, where we have Chris Isiguzo, the Vice President of Abuja Southeast. You've had somebody, Emmanuel Agalo, did point to the fact that there is lack of, enlightenment, education of the populace on this, because this has been trending all this while. To what extent do you think the media, members of the fourth estate of the realm, have responded to this in enlightening Nigerians on how not to do business with these Ponzi schemes?
Well, thank you very much once again. When you look at the kind of people that are really involved in this Ponzi scheme, you will be so amazed that you see very intelligent people, educated people, highly educated people, people that know what's really going on in the society, and they are involved in this scheme. It really amazes me when you see such thing happening and you see this kind of caliber of people getting involved in this scheme. It really leaves one with a whole lot of imaginations. But I can tell you that the media, as always, we are up to task. Like Wilson observed, when these businesses come initially, they are not going to tell you that we are wonder banks, we are coming to rip you off. They come, marked in different names that will be so inviting. And when you hear them, you will be salivating before you even go in. That's the kind of problem that we have. But thank God that now that we are seeing what is happening, and a lot of people are having their eyes very well opened. Information that just got to me this morning is that about 3 persons that are involved in this scheme are already dead in Enugu because they put their life savings there and they can't find anything. It's gone with the wind, and they are dead. And a lot of people are really wondering, are we going to recover our money? What you are doing already is part of the responsibilities of the media. You are already enlightening people. And on our own part, we are also not going to relent. Thank God the EFCC is, especially in Enugu zone, they are partnering very well with the media here. Whatever all the developments that we are getting, they are getting from these Ponzi scheme operators. They are really working very closely with us, and they will continue to tell people that there is no shortcut to wealth. It might initially look so inviting, but if you follow through, you see that there is a huge risk involved in this business. Somebody tweeted and talked about the financial institution. They don't seem to be, to have done very well to checkmate the activities of these people. Obviously, I agree with that tweet. The financial institutions, the CBN, the Nigeria Deposit Insurance Corporation, and of course the law enforcement agencies should follow these business interests very closely, mark them very closely to see what they are really up to. Because, like somebody observed, 500,000 persons are already linked to MMM. More people are really eager to key in, and it's a terrible situation. But I can assure you, Cliff, that we are not going to rest on our oars. We are going to continue enlightening the people. If you want to do any money transactions, we have the banks. Go through the banks so that even when your deposit is tottering, the NDIC is there to save the situation. You don't just go and throw your money where there is no insurance.
Chris Sisiguzo, thank you. Thank you very much. And a very sad story that you just told us coming out from Enugu. Again, let's direct our question to Dr. Ezekiel Adeleye, who is a former banker and chartered accountant in Lagos. Dr. Adeleye, of course, the man, of course, Mr. Emmanuel Aholo in UK did talk about the need for the banks to, of course, to live up to expectation. And a number of the tweets we have here this morning are showing us how people, many Nigerians have been swayed, by these investment schemes. And I'm asking, what kind of help are these, customers getting from such investment schemes that the banks aren't giving them?
In terms of what the people are getting from these wonder banks, that they felt they are not getting from the conventional banks, it has to do with the return. The conventional banks are giving them a return that ranges between 5% and 18% per annum, whereas the non-conventional banks, that is these wonder banks, are giving 30% return. That's a rate of 360% per annum. You'll be wondering what kind of business is being done with this fund that is being gathered, if not that it is absolutely fraudulent from inception. And because the people are gullible, they want higher return, they want quick return, they want to make money overnight, they are easily enticed to believe that, yes, truly, they'll be able to earn this return. They need to ask themselves serious question. These people I'm parting with my hard-earned money, what do they do with it? Are they licensed? Are they authorized to collect these funds? Will the principal come back to me, talk less of the interest being promised? So in terms of the services being rendered, it's simply the issue of return. And the return is non-existing. It is deceptive. The populace should be warned that not everything that is glitter, that is gold. A lot of promises are being made. The promises are not genuine. They are not real. And people should be seriously warned that they need to patronize the conventional banks, because little return that is promised by them will come back. But the one with the wonder banks are all fake. They are fraudulent, and people should avoid them at all costs.
Dr. Adeleye, I'll still remain with you, because when we look at the investment, the return on investment, that attracts these people to Ponzi banks is something that you might not blame them that much. Well, let's look at this scenario. Currently, the commercial banks in Nigeria, when you save your money with commercial banks, they use it to transact business. They give out loans, and those that benefit from that pay interest of up to above 20%. And when you save in that bank, you only attract, or the banks give you 30% of the monetary policy rate at any given point in time. And that's a paltry sum, when you're doing business with them. How does this, suffice in this instance? To what extent do you think what obtains here encourages what is happening on the other end of the divide?
The margin between the interest rate earned on deposit and the interest paid being charged on the loans being given has to cover a lot of expenses that are being incurred by the banks. And people should not think that because banks are lending at the rate of 22, 24, 26%, therefore they ought to be paid interest of 22%. No, there is a margin, and that is what secured the investment that each depositor gives to the bank. So when the Wonder Banks has to promise you a deceptive rate of 30%, and at the end you'll be unable to collect the principal, talk less of being able to get the interest. That shows that, yes, the return being offered by these Wonder Banks are not real. The margin, the difference between the interest paid on deposit and the interest paid on the being charged on the loan has to cover expenses incurred by the banks. That's why when you place your money with the banks, it is secured, it's insured. Even if any bank will go under, if the NDIC guarantees a return back of your principal, if not all, you will get a substantial sum. But the one with these Wonder Banks, they are non-existing, and people have lost money in the past. The West Solution, Nuspecto, and several other ones who have been established in the past, they've all gone under. Depositors are crying, and they've lost quite a lot of money. And the same thing will still happen with this MMM. People should avoid them. They should be contented with the little that they get from the conventional banks, taking it as real return. Otherwise, their funds should be invested in real business for them to make their own real money.
All right, Dr. Adeleye, thank you. We've got quite a number of tweets again. They are pouring in, actually. Let me quickly, Cliff, begin with Ask Mr. Know-It-All. And Ask Mr. Know-It-All tweets, I beg, make una leave Wonder Banks and MMM alone, no. I don't know what is itching you. MMM is helping people, and you guys want to terminate it.
And also from Taiwo Power Projects, he says that the only issue with Wonder Bank is the risk assessment. They operate with the same liquidity as insurance and pension companies.
All right, Judith Unable tweets, I thank God for Wonder Banks, MMM, I'm a beneficiary.
And of course, Adeboyega tweets, yes, risky, but riskier not to take a risk. After all, people are aware it may crash. That's why the site says you should contribute your spare cash.
All right, Biggie Smalls tweets, Mr. Uche got the ideology of MMM wrong. They don't pay old customers from money gathered from new members.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Biggie Smalls says both new and old participants are paid interchangeably with their money. So I don't know how to reconcile that.
All right, this one tweets, Wonder Banks never last, and that is the big issue. But life is all about risk, you know.
And of course, Oluyide Adedayo tweets, MMN is different from other Wonder Banks because it doesn't have central account. Therefore, it will be difficult to stop.
All right, Adegboy, okay, Nkem Echebiri Charles tweets, MMM is the best that has happened to us. We don't invest, but we only pay money to each other's account.
And Tinubu Ayodeji tweets, our Apex Bank should embark on sensitization campaign against Wonder Banks.
All right, Esan tweets, so far MMM is wonderful. They keep to their words of 30% on your donation after 30 days. No Nigerian bank will try it.
And Sani Michael Omakoji says, the same way Wonder Banks has rescued many out of poverty, same way is going to plunge many into poverty because crashing is coming.
All right, Cliff, thank you. Before we come to Dr. Owaleke, let's quickly take Mr. Emmanuel Aholo's final word from the UK. Mr. Aholo, I'm sure you must have listened to all 80–90% of the tweets we have come have talked about the benefits they have derived from, the so-called wonder banks. Can you again give us the characteristics or features that make them fraudulent?
Yeah, as I said earlier on, it just showed. I read. I was listening to the tweets, and it's so surprising to see how people have gotten so engaged with this scheme. It just shows what is happening in our country at this moment, and I hope the government will begin to do things that will help to raise the hope of many people. That's why most people are going to this, even though some of them know that it's dangerous, but they just want something at this moment because of the recession in the country. So, of course, there is some of in finding out any business you are going into. The first thing you have to consider: what are you rendering? What is the services or the products you are rendering to the people, to the customers? If there's no such services or products or goods you are selling, then there's no other way you can make returns. So in some of this scheme, most people should check their conscience. What are they rendering to the society? What value are they generating or creating values to the society? And the earlier we start looking at this, the better for us as a nation to build our country. Because we see in the years past, we have many people, EFCC is going after so many past government officials today because they had so much wealth, but they were not providing services or creating wealth in values in the society. And that's why our country has plugged into recession. Likewise, if you are making money through this Wonder Bank or MMM and you are happy to do that, then your part is corrupt. You understand? Because at the end of the day, somebody's money is being paid to you and you are receiving that. That's an ill-gotten wealth without providing values in the society. And these are some of the things we need to begin to educate the youth about value creation in building wealth. You can't make wealth without providing. Before you can even make 1 million, or let's just talk about somebody that wants to generate 1 billion naira, you have created jobs to at least 100,000 people, which is why our country is where it is today. So many people have billions, but there's no job creation. So how are they getting that money? How do they get money? You can't make money without providing services or goods. And these are the problems we're having with this MMN or Wonder Bank. What services are they providing in our society? The conventional bank, you can see that they provide loan services, they provide financial services, which the people get from. But when you look at these banks, the same thing, they don't have any basis of their income. So that is to tell you that they are making, the money is coming from somewhere. And where is it coming from? From other people that you are recruiting. They get you to recruit other people. So their money is being paid to you. And they also go ahead to recruit other people. It's just like the pyramids kind of scheme. So at the end of the day, at the bottom line, when they can no longer hold on to it, it collapses. And these are bad for our society. I believe that with what the president is doing, we youth should plug into it and build a stronger economy. Build our country. Let's get our hand dirty. Let's work and build our country together. And we'll be better off in the near future and we'll leave something behind for our generation to come. So we should not be greedy. You can't get money. Even if you're a Christian or a religious, all religious says that every ill-gotten wealth shall diminish. So it's just a matter of time. Whatever you are getting will diminish because you have no basis to sustain it. So you must work to sustain your wealth. And that is what I believe we should begin to look into and think about how we can get our country working again by God's grace. Thank you very much for this opportunity you are giving to me to contribute.
Mr. Emmanuel Aholo, founder and chief executive officer of World Link Limited, founder of Christian Business Network, a motivational speaker and blogger in the United Kingdom. We thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me on today. Thank you.
It might also interest our viewers that Alex Odipo, the MMM guider we introduced earlier in the program, went off air because when we got through to him, he did say that he had problem with his internet connection, and couldn't come back to us. We wanted to get the MMN perspective to this very conversation, but he had challenges with internet connectivity. And also the CBN that we invited could not make it after all. So we'll continue with this conversation now. Coming back to the studio, Dr. Uche Waleke, you've had all the submissions.
Yeah.
Moving forward, what should we do at this time?
Okay, yeah, let me start by saying that I'm aware that the Central Bank of Nigeria and the NDIC have been issuing warnings about these wonder banks and Ponzi schemes. I'm also aware that the Nigerian Stock Exchange and the Securities and Exchange Commission have also been issuing warnings. As a matter of fact, the Securities and Exchange Commission at one time partnered with Nollywood to create a film, a movie on the dangers of investing in wonder banks. It's important we define what a wonder bank is or what a Ponzi scheme is. In our context, I've told you in South Africa, we have a definition. And that's because you can see from the some of the tweaks you had here, some claiming that MMM is not a wonder bank. The other one said that, I talked about pyramid scheme, that MMM is not a pyramid scheme. So it's important these things are, defined. Why are they saying MMM is not a wonder bank? A mutual fund is supposed to get funds, accept deposits. MMM will tell you they don't accept deposits, that there is no lender and there is no debtor. They don't accept deposits. All they do is to match those who are donating with those who are seeking help. You see, whereas financial intermediation, will always require that if you mobilize deposits from the surplus unit, you channel to the deficit unit, and that deficit unit is expected to, invest and then bring in returns. So once there is no real investment, it is not an investment, it is a Ponzi scheme.
And it will crash.
Yes, it is bound to crash.
All right. Dr. Uche Waleke, Department of Banking and Finance, Nasarawa State University, Kefi, thank you very much for your presence. Okay, let me quickly take the spokesperson of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Mr. Wilson Wujare. Mr. Wujare, do you see this scheme crashing? Mr. Hollow said it's only a matter of time before it comes down, considering the tweets that you have heard. Do you see that happening?
And what do we expect from the law enforcement agents?
Absolutely. The schemes are not sustainable, so it will definitely crash. And for us, in the law enforcement sector, we believe that the solution is not law enforcement. What we need to do is to sensitize the public on the dangers of getting involved in this scheme. Nigerians need to know that there is no shortcut to wealth. The earlier we get this message across to all Nigerians, the better for us as a nation.
All right. Maybe I just want to add that the relevant laws too may need to be amended, because at the time we had the Investment and Securities Act of 2007, we didn't have this online, challenge. At the time we had the Bank and Other Financial Institutions Act, we didn't have this online challenge. So maybe we need to tinker with the laws to accommodate, these developments around Ponzi schemes.
Okay, I think we go to Lagos to get his last word. Mr. Dele, please, let's have the way forward out of this challenge. Looking at the different perspectives, you had the tweets and all that, the plus minus of it. We even tried to have the guardian of MMM to state their own perspective to this conversation.
The way forward to this particular development is for more enlightenment to be made to the public. They need to be aware that indeed the particular scheme is a Ponzi scheme. It's bound to crash in a matter of few days because it is not sustainable. We need to enlighten the public, and we must take it even down to the religious houses where I believe they are using currently to lure the populace who are ignorant of the real scheme itself. They claim that yes, it's meant to help the needy. They channel from the surplus to those who are in need. But look at it. When you say you are channeling to somebody and you are still paying interest, where is the interest coming from? Where is the real return being derived from? Fundamentally, it is faulty. Secondly, we should strengthen the security agencies to be able to curb these things at the infancy, because it is the innocent ones that will lose their resources. The smart ones at the early stage will get their money and get their return. But then those who will move in with their hard-earned income will get disappointed later on as the scheme progresses. And I believe that when it crashes, the innocent ones will cry out the more. The third thing is the Nigerians should not be too greedy. They should not be gullible to think that, yes, because a higher return had been offered, therefore that is the solution. We should go down to carry out real work, because investing or patronizing the wonder banks is not the solution to this recession that the Nigerians are passing through. Things are hard, quite okay, but at the same time, we must be careful not to lose our hard-earned income. Let's look at the principal itself. Will it come back? We must not be carried away with the sumptuous return being offered. Somebody offer you 30%, and you think, oh, if I invest 1 million naira, in 3 months' time, my money will double. You are only looking at the return. You are not looking at the ability to collect the principal back. So we need indeed to ensure that, yes, we are not gullible. We are not just crazy for any kind of promises being made because somebody offers us a very high return. And lastly, I believe that indeed the conventional banks should also go all out to satisfy the more customers' requirements in terms of getting adequate return on their investment. If the conventional banks are alive to their duties and they are raking in savings and deposits and they are paying returns as they are doing now, I believe that people who are wise will definitely patronize them and avoid the wonder banks who are promising returns that they cannot sustain on the long run. So I believe definitely those who are currently involved in MMM scheme should move out now. It's a matter of time, it's a matter of weeks. This Ponzi scheme is fraudulent and will crash very soon. And those who are ignorant will lose their resources.
So Ezekiel Adele, former banker and chartered accountant, would like to appreciate you immensely for your contribution. And do have a pleasant day. Pleasant day.
Indeed.
All right, we'd also like to appreciate, of course, Chris Isiguzo in Enugu Network Center. Mr. Isiguzo, thank you very much. We do also appreciate your contributions.
Thank you very much.
And right here in Abuja, Dr. Uche Waleke, Department of Banking and Finance, Nasarawa State University, KEFI, of course, is an Associate Professor of Finance. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
And last but certainly not the least is Mr. Wilson Wujare, the spokesperson of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. We'd like to thank you for taking time to come to our program.
Thank you very much.
All right, Cliff.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, as we round off this conversation, don't forget that we earlier introduced the guardian of MMM, Alex Odipo in Lokoja, but somewhere along the line, we lost connection. And when we got through to him on telephone, he said he had challenges with his internet connectivity. And also, we'd like to call your attention to the fact that, in spite of the fact that the Central Bank of Nigeria could not make it to this conversation, they've been doing releases warning Nigerians not to identify with this type of investment, because when you smile today, you might live to cry tomorrow. Well, as we move on now, we'll go to our companion segments in a moment.
Every goal, every success deserves your all. Only 100% will do. Chivita, 100%. Chivita 100% juice. Made from real natural fruits. With no preservative and no added sugar. The best always believes in 100%.
Chivita, 100% or nothing.
Who are you and what is your predicament?
Please, I'm looking for Kande. Who is living